This video is brought to you by NAVAC, empowering you to work smarter with their new break-free power tube expander, the NTE 11L. I think everyone can agree that install can be the worst environments to work in. So you're going to have somebody that's consistently able to attack that for long periods of time, for weeks at a time sometimes. You know, that's a special breed right there, don't you think?
It is. There is a mental and a physical perseverance that's needed to do what we do, whether it's in the extreme heat or the extreme cold. And there's actually a fifth trait that a buddy of mine, contractor, Pennsylvania, pointed out. So there'll be a fifth trait coming out in contracting business before too long. So keep a lookout for that. And I can't believe I missed it. He was like, I can't believe you didn't put this one down. I was like, I can't believe I didn't either. Awesome. So Tony gave me full, complete credit for it. I was like, this is great. I can't believe it. So there'll be a fifth trait coming also. But, you know, I mean, I have worked, and probably all of you that have done this, you usually the beginning of the year, at least once, you'll get heat stroke, heat exhaustion. You get going, you get wrapped up. You don't drink enough fluids. You don't sit down enough. And before you know it, you're getting lightheaded and hopefully not worse. But there's a difference between working hard, working smart, and then combining the two. And, you know, we have to do some nasty stuff, guys. I mean, there's times, you know, we're down in our knees, we're in muddy crawls. This is another one of those lead by example things. Don't ever ask anybody to do something that you wouldn't do. I have a huge peeve with that. That's one of the things Dad taught me. If we had to get in a muddy crawl, he was the first one in.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
That's kind of gotten lost in our industry. That it's usually, you know, hey, you go do this, and I'll sit out here and smoke a cigarette and wait on you.
It's vape. It's vape now.
No, vape, okay. That doesn't work. By the way, if you guys sit in an NCI class, don't vape. It's not acceptable.
Yeah,
sorry,
that doesn't seem like that would be acceptable. Yeah,
like,
I don't think that's a good thing.
What are you doing? Yeah.
I understand that. I mean, I can actually, when you said go into a muddy crawl space, I literally imagined a specific crawl space from like 20 years ago or 25 years ago. I can see it now because you can see the waves moving across in a distance. And I realize that there's a lot of guys, I think, that when you get to a certain, what you would perceive, let's say, stature, whether it be in a company or in life or whatever, you feel like you don't have to do that anymore because you've ascended beyond that. But what you're telling me is you have to be willing to show guys that you're willing to do it in order to lead guys. Is that what you're saying?
You do. You got to be willing to sweep the shop, clean out your van.
Man, it's the simple things right there.
It is, but they're the big things. They're the ones that people look at. And, you know, with work ethic, it's, you know, getting the job done. I mean, and I got to tell you, we were talking about smartphones earlier before you launched the broadcast. And that's something that had just come out when I got out of the field. I think I got an iPhone 4 when I first got out of the field and started working at NCI. That's how long ago it was.
Man.
But you look at that constant form of distraction. I mean, there's two types of installers and service techs. You're either distracted or undistracted. And that makes it so much easier to be distracted now. You know, I got a couple seconds. I'll go surf Facebook or whatever your favorite social media site is, instead of being able to focus on the job and think about what the next steps are going to be. So when we look at these, you know, work ethic things and it being a mindset, it's also a focused mindset. Getting the job done and sticking with it until you're done and being able to do some deep work without stopping to, you know, check notifications every 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. That little red circle with a number in it, man. That's important stuff. That could be life or death right there. You won't know unless you check it.
Yeah. Airplane mode is a blessing.
You know, that really is a blessing. And it kind of makes me think about, you know, you think about the lead, you think about the employees. But as employees, you need to start practicing self-control. You have to wean yourself off of, I don't know, just wanting to look at it, thinking that it's so important. I don't know how you do that because we're so wrapped up in it now, but you almost have to train yourself like a child.
Yeah. Well, you got to understand what the triggers are. There's triggers for everything. You've got internal and external triggers, and you have to know what they are. I know what mine are. It took me a long time to figure them out. But if you ever spend, you know, there's a big difference between being busy and being productive. If you've ever spent the end of the day and you've like busted it for 9 hours and you turn around and you're like, I didn't hardly get anything done. you're being busy, but are you being productive? And this goes back, my dad's first installer, his name was Roger. And I'll never forget, because this was a part about being organized. And, Dad told me a story. He's like, he would go up and down the ladder 100 times. And he stopped, and he wanted to know how Dad had gotten so much done. And he said, it doesn't look like you're doing anything. He said, how have you gotten so much done? And he told me, he said, Roger, let me show you something. He put his tool belt on him. He loaded him up with, screws and the drill gun and everything, put his hand tools in there. And he said, now you think one step ahead. I'm doing this. What's next? And he said, you're always thinking one step ahead, and you're planning that way. And that really kind of goes back to the vision, but it ties into the work ethic thing also. Because there's a lot of guys, they bust it. They don't get anything done. It's because they're totally unorganized. They're not thinking one step ahead.
Yeah, so across the trade too.
And that's good if you're a helper that's listening to this. If you want to promote yourself, think one step ahead. You try to think, I'm working with this lead installer. What's the next thing he needs to do? And you do it. You make sure it's there waiting on him. You want to get a job promotion and more pay? That's the fastest way to do it. Not only does it show you got work ethic, it also shows you have initiative.
Yeah, and I think now, especially we talk about smartphones, everything's instantaneous with smartphones. You get a lot of information, whether it be wrong, right, whatever. You can have someone tell you an answer of some value pretty quickly. And, putting that adjacent to, I'm going to take the initiative because I'm working toward a promotion I may not get for a year and a half, but it's part of the journey forward. You see, that would create a difficult situation because you're training yourself for immediate results in a career, or any career really, and in life when you have to wait a significant time to get results. So I think that's causing a lot of problems these days, and myself too.
It is, because there's really two different things going on there. You've got the immediate gratification, which is taking place now, and then you've got delayed gratification, which is the case with craftsmanship. There's things that take years to develop, and that's one of the things that our industry has gotten away from is a true and apprentice journeyman mastery program. And I know the unions still do it. I won't get into the union versus non-union discussion on here. But having a true format to where people are allowed the time to learn, those that are getting into our industry. Everyone progresses at different rates. I see this in training classes. You have some guys, they see it once and they're like, bam, they've got it and they run with it. I'm not that way. It takes me forever to learn something. I have to read it. I have to think about it. I have to see it, and I have to do it. Then I'm good. And I won't forget it after that. But all of us learn at a little bit different rates. And when you look at our trade, there's so many different aspects of it, from the plumbing, electrical, refrigeration, from the air side, the design side. There's so many different aspects that go into what we do that you're trying to master all of these specialized skilled trades that will take years. And we see these guys doing it on YouTube. We see them doing them on social media. And we're like, I think I'm going to watch this and I'll automatically have that skill. What you don't realize is you're comparing your beginning to their middle or their end, where they're at. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. It's not fair. You have to realize where you're at. And that's where that vision comes in, and that work ethic is planning. Where am I going to go? What am I going to do one step at a time moving forward? Where do I want to be next year? Most of us aren't very good at writing out our goals. We don't even have goals. We just, work for beer 30.
Just a blank sheet of paper, really. A grocery list, if you will. And
that's exactly where you'll end up. Is not the grocery store.
Where you said
you might end up at the grocery store, but a blank.
Right. You'll get where you plan to get. Whether you unplanned or not, you'll go nowhere, or you'll just go randomly somewhere.
That's correct.
Based on other people's actions.
You think about ships that sail or airplanes. When they leave, they've got a destination. They know where they're going. They always make slight adjustments. No, there's no ship that would leave a harbor without a destination, because if it was just going to drift, it would end up grounded somewhere.
Absolutely.
So, but sometimes we live like that. I lived my life like that too many years until I met some very good people who pointed me in the right way.
It's youth. That's what youth's all about.
It is.
Adrift is how I describe my youth. And that beer you were mentioning, a lot of that too. I don't do that anymore.
Like styrofoam cups in a windy parking lot.
Yeah, that's about right. And I think that people go through stages and they learn. Sometimes people learn things easy way. Sometimes they learn it the hard way. And sometimes you need it the hard way, I guess.
The times I've made the biggest changes in my life were when somebody just absolutely pissed me off. And I was like, okay, time to prove you wrong. That's when the biggest changes, and that's just the way I'm wired. I know some guys that are like that, and they would just shut down. Others, they are like, give me some encouragement, breathe some life into me. All they need is somebody to believe in them, and they will walk through a wall. We're all wired a little bit different. And so you got to figure out what works for you and use it.
There's where your lead comes in. A little bit of perception on behalf of the lead. When you have like a couple installers underneath you, if you can realize what kind of people they are, you probably make your own life a lot easier and make their life a lot easier, lead them somewhere better than where they might go otherwise.
Yeah.
Because in that situation you're talking about, a couple of them might say, I quit.
Yeah.
Oh, you're wrong. I quit. I've seen that plenty of times.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing, our industry, we need so many more good people. There's so many good people that are in our industry. We need more. And if you can find ways to give people hope that this is a great industry. I have made lifelong friends in this industry. I've had people that have mentored me, influenced me, and had big influences in my life. I hope I'm able to do the same. But when you see the impact that people have in our industry, there's so many others that need what we have. And, how to attract that. If we're not getting paid for what we do and all we're doing is moving boxes, we're not going to attract the best talents that's out there.